Hello, and welcome to another episode of Vibrant Legacy Wellness. And today I just want to hop on really quick and talk about something that I noticed is, I would say, a very big topic in the wellness and spiritual industry. And it's so funny because it's something that I see come up all the time with clients and practitioners, clients and business owners. And we talk about it, we have solutions for it, but we don't always implement it. And that is burnout, because burnout is such a real thing. And I talk about this a lot. I know I'm probably, sometimes you probably feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I think it's so important to just acknowledge that this is something that happens. And I think it's really important to also acknowledge that people in the wellness space, people in spiritual spaces, people in spaces, um, like even medical, actual medical spaces, where we are all aware, everyone that is a practitioner, everyone that is a doctor, we are all aware of burnout. We know what the signs are. We know what we should and shouldn't do. And yet we guide our clients and our patients to not do those things. And yet we are still, I would say, the number one, I'm going to call us perpetrators. We are the number one perpetrators of burnout because we keep going, we keep pushing ourselves. And it's funny because we keep going, we keep pushing ourselves to the limit, we keep pushing ourselves past the limits. And we are still, on the other hand, telling people, oh, this is what you should do to avoid burnout. This is why you should take breaks. This is why you should take rest. But we don't do the same things for ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves and care for ourselves the way that we tell our clients to. Some of us have whole programs built on burnout. I myself, on a personal level with some of my clients, I actually have different programs and different things that I do. And I include burnout in almost everything I do. I include burnout in my coaching sessions. I talk about burnout with my Reiki clients, and I still don't always listen. And what made me want to get on here today and just talk about this really quick, like I said, this is not going to be a really long episode, but what made me really want to talk about this is this weekend, the last couple of days. I don't know when this is going to actually post, but as of when I'm recording, it was a couple of days ago. I went to an event. It was a 2-day event, and it was spiritual people in the spiritual space and wellness space. Excuse me. It was a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of practitioners, a lot of course, individuals just seeking different outlets and different things and just knowledge about the wellness space and the spiritual space. And a common theme across the board for not the actual people coming to see the speakers, I mean, outside of the other, individuals, but not really people that were coming to see the speakers, who were coming to see the vendors, not those people. It was the people, the speakers, the vendors, the spiritual entrepreneurs, the wellness entrepreneurs, and they also had some medical professionals there. The medical professionals, these were the people who were talking about burnout. And they weren't talking about burnout with their patients and their clients. They were talking about burnout within themselves and how they feel so burnt out and how they're so tired and how they have a million things in their plate, and how they feel like they can't take a break. And it was just a little eye-opening because it was a reminder of how we get ourselves into these positions and of just feeling like we have to continuously fill other people's cups. And we forget that if we continue to fill everyone else's cup without also taking a moment, taking a breath, and filling our own cup, that we can't continue to help other people the way we need to. Drinking my morning my morning hot stuff. Today it is coffee. But um and I had a very interesting conversation with two individuals there. And one of them, she did this exercise, and it's so funny because I already kind of knew that she was going to get some of the burnout feeling from me. But she did this little demonstration that she was doing. She was one of the speakers that I went to go see her speak. And she was talking about how we, for me, on a personal level, she did the exercise and she was like, oh, it really seems like you just keep going and going and going. And she was really surprised she was like, your energy feels so off, but it feels weird, like almost like you're in a relaxing space, but you're like also in burnout mode. And then we had a conversation afterward, and I kind of explained. So I'm going to share something very personal with you all. I know a lot of you know that I'm a serial entrepreneur. A lot of you know that I am a student working on my doctorate, but what a lot of you don't know is that while I'm working on my doctorate, I was also doing coursework to slowly, well, what I felt like at the time was slow walk my process to my MBA because business is very important to me and I want that background, right? So I was pushing myself for, I would say about a year and a half. I was pushing myself hard. I was working my doctorate program. I was working this and like working toward this goal of obtaining my MBA. I was running multiple businesses. I was being a mom. I was trying to do networking events. And I would say probably last fall is when I was at burnout point. That was when I should have taken a moment, took a knee, took a break, but I kept going and I kept pushing. And meanwhile, I was still telling my clients, oh, you're close to burnout. Oh, do these things. Oh, take a break. And I wasn't doing them myself. And I got to the point where I felt like I was burnt out. I was burnt out, but I didn't stop. Even then, I didn't stop. I kept going. I kept pushing myself. And went into the new year and I had what I would say is like a mini break. I had like a week and a half, maybe two, I would say a week and a half, where I just rested and I didn't really do a lot of things. And I always at the end of the year try to take a few weeks off from the business stuff. The end of the year, I'm kind of out of office the whole year, just because that's just for me, reset. I like to do cleansing things, right? And I thought that was enough. Deep down, I think I knew it wasn't enough. I think that's the other thing we do is we tell ourselves these lies, these stories. I won't call them lies. We tell ourselves these stories. We change the narrative to, oh, this is enough time. But deep down, we know we're not doing enough to avoid the burnout. And we just keep pushing ourselves and we keep going, even though we know we should stop. We have these steps, we have the tools, and we don't utilize them. We put them in the toolbox and we leave them there and we never open the toolbox again. We open the toolbox, we grab other tools, and we leave all of that stuff about burnout right there and we just bypass it and we keep going. And that's what I did. And then I kept pushing and kept pushing. And finally, we got to about mid-February where I was honestly, I don't know. I was running on fumes. I don't know how I kept going. And I finally just crashed and burned. And by the time the end of um, that semester was over, which is April, I was completely burnt out. And my dean and I had a very long talk. And she was like, you are so burnt out. You don't even see it. Or maybe you do see it. She was like, you need to take a break. And for me, taking a break felt so overwhelming. It felt more overwhelming than being burnt out. And I think as practitioners, as providers, as doctors, as people who keep space for other people, as people who are caregivers for other people, as people who are healers, people who are just in a space where we are taking care of someone else, we are providing, we are giving of ourselves, right? Taking a break feels scary. But taking a time out feels scary. Taking time to yourself feels scary until you get your mind used to the idea. You have to get yourself used to the idea of I need to take breaks. And then even when you know it and you get into that flow and you get into that idea, and you get into those habits, sometimes you still backslide. Because I will say, before we got to that year and a half, I was doing pretty good with not burning out and maintaining balance and doing all of that. But then I started adding more and more stuff on, and I felt like I couldn't let go of anything. And I think that's a common thing in the healing spaces. And when I say healing spaces, again, I mean practitioners like holistic practitioners, wellness, medical, coaches, I mean all of it. We get into a space where we want to give, take, and then we say, okay, I'm burnt out. Let me take care of myself. And then we get into these healthy habits and we take care of ourselves. And then we backslide. And the backslide is almost worse than the beginning because now we're trying to remember what it's like to not feel this way. And it becomes more and more difficult to remember how to not be in that space, because your body remembers the burnout and it just goes back to the burnout. And I think this weekend was so insightful because it was a reminder, because I am now, I would say I took about, what month is this? August of as of when I'm recording. So that's April, about 4 months. Um, by the time that I restart my doctorate classes, it'll be about 5 months, 5.5 months of a break. Um, and I feel like it wasn't just about the break, it was about remembering what to do, what to implement, changing my routine, which is what I did. The first week after that term ended, that semester ended, I did nothing the whole first week. I just relaxed. I spent time with my kid. We did a couple of fun things. Well, I thought they were fun. We did a couple of fun things, and I really just relaxed. I took some time relaxing. And then I decided that I needed to come up with a new routine that automatically implemented that time and that rest. And I think it's also really important to have people in your circle that remember, that are reminders, because I do have a few friends who were constantly saying, you're burnt out, and I wasn't listening. So not only is it important to listen to your friends who have that, it's like they have the inner knowledge, but the outside perspective, but also that are going to be supportive of you and understanding of you. And then it's really, really, really important to actually listen when they say it. And I would say probably a month after the burnout, like the calmness, I started feeling a lot better. I started feeling more regulated, more balanced. And one of my friends, she's so funny. She is very guilty also of the burnout. And she was like, "Whew, so glad you're past that. You remember when I was like that and you made me take a seat and you told me, hey, you're going to crash and burn?" She was like, "Girl, I thought you were going to crash and burn." And that was so insightful because even looking back on it, the whole time she was like, "You're going to crash and burn." But I was like, "Girl, bye. You don't know what you're talking about." And this past weekend, interacting with these people, interacting with these individuals, it was so insightful because now I feel like I'm past burnout. I feel very balanced, very calm. Like I know when I'm tired, I just take a break. When I feel overwhelmed, I just take a break. And I noticed that I show up differently. I show up better. I still have a little bit of that. I feel a little anxious because I feel like I should be doing something, but I just feel like it's a conversation that we need to keep having, because I found myself having this conversation with people so often this weekend, just so many connections, especially these two conversations where both of them were talking about their experience with recent experiences with being burnt out. And then basically, your body takes what it needs, whether you give it to it or not. Eventually, it will just take it, and your life will follow through. And you see it in how you show up and how you, excuse me, interact and what you attract. And I noticed that once I started getting out of that burnout mode, the type of energy, the type of people, the interactions were different. They were more productive. They weren't from a place of, I would say, anxiety and stress, right? And I continue to see that as I move forward. But I also noticed that in other people. And I noticed that just with conversations with people and what they were saying was very similar. So I feel like we're going to probably have burnout conversations more often and just balancing conversations more often, because I think it's important, especially as practitioners, especially as people in the wellness space, and entrepreneurs. Like, I think it's important for everybody, but I think it's important for people who are healers, people who are helping, to really remember to take that time for yourself, to feed into yourself the way you feed into other people, to fill your cup the way you are filling everyone else's cup. So that's it. I just wanted to remind you. I know I shared a personal story. I don't normally go into this much detail about personal stories, but I felt like it was kind of necessary so you can understand I actually do know firsthand about burnout. I know what it feels like. It's not fun. Um, and it's really hard. The burnout itself is hard, but it's really hard to force yourself to not burn out. And so this is just your reminder. If you needed to hear this today, don't push yourself past the limit. Get yourself a good circle, a good group of people who are supportive, who will say, hey, you know what, you need rest. Hey, you know what, maybe I can help you with this. And don't turn down the help. Don't push it away. Don't feel like you have to do everything by yourself because you don't. We're all in this together. And we forget that. We start living so individually that we forget that we are here to help each other grow, help each other become more enlightened, and help each other get on the paths that we are meant to be on. So please tell me your experience about burnout. We can talk about it more if you want to. Thank you for joining me for this episode. And don't forget, as of right now, when I am recording, if it is 2025, when you are watching this before October, there's still time to sign up to the symposium. It is a virtual event, it is free. We have some amazing speakers from all over the world. The theme is Wellness Without Borders. So please join us. You'll be able to see the link in the description box to sign up. Um, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And remember, true wellness isn't just about the body, it's about nurturing your mind, body, heart, and spirit. So keep your energy high, your spirit bright, and your soul nourished. Until next time, stay vibrant and stay well.